What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over Solana as its price does run out of time, and the fact that we need to see it bounce relatively soon before we could see up to 10 to even 20% in losses pretty quickly, okay? So with that being said, of course, let's go ahead and let's get straight into it. So of course, looking at Solana on more of a zoomed out version, we've been tracking this big move right here. Now, of course, what we've been focused the most on is the fact that we do have this trend line here. And of course, what we can see is that as we did get the breakout, we have seen a pretty successful breakout and are currently coming to back test that previous level of resistance. Now, not only are we back testing the previous level of resistance, but if we look at this from a macro event perspective, from swing low to swing high, and we draw on our Fibonacci's, we are currently revisiting the 6182786 level, which has historically been the level in which Solana will bounce off of on a macro perspective if it is going to continue into a pretty extensive uptrend. And so considering the fact that we are backtesting two key levels of support, it is very important that we hold at this point because the loss of that support does likely lead us to see pretty substantial losses, okay? Now, in the last video, we did a lot of comparing this move right here to what we saw on a bit of a smaller perspective back here from last September. Remember, a lot of these different movements that we see in the market don't always have to be on the same exact time frame and be the same size. Sometimes you can zoom down and you can zoom in and you can see, okay, this happens on the 4 hours or this happens on the 1 day. Or even on the 1 week time frames. And what we can see is that back in September, when we started to see the market kind of tumble a little bit as everyone was screaming that Bitcoin basically had to go down because it was the month of September, we could see a very similar setup, right? In which we got the breakout from the trend. As soon as we got the breakout, we look at this from a macro event perspective and go swing low to swing high. You can see that off of the breakout, we had to come almost all the way back down and retrace nearly 60% of what we grew right here in order to come back to this macro Fibonacci, allow that to work as support, and then use that support to continue back up towards the upside. And again, we talked about the fact that considering the fact that Solana has a tendency to use this 618 to 786 level where we are right now, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that bounce, but it needs to happen pretty soon. Now, one thing we can see is looking at the 4-hour charts, now that we do have a little bit more structure here, is that there is still the position for us to be able to do so, which is a good sign, okay? As we enter into moments of consolidation such as this, I always start to look for signs like, okay, where are the bulls, where are the bears? What is going on and exactly how is this thing kind of playing out? And one thing you can see is that we started to get this shift in momentum, right? In which you can see here clearly that our RSI is seemingly putting in on the 4-hour charts some higher lows, right, as we do start to see this thing kind of bottomed out at this point and does seem to be continuing towards the top side, where in perspective with the price itself, we are still putting in equivalent lows, which gives us a drive of exaggerated bullish divergence. Now, considering the fact that we are seeing exaggerated bullish divergence mixed in with the fact that we did get a pretty strong breakout here, right? We saw a breakout, boom, we came back, we back tested, and we are looking to hold support again while also seemingly having broken out from the short-term downtrend again. It looks like we are somewhat holding right here, and as long as we are above about $99 by the end of the day, it does seem as if we will hold. That is a pretty good sign to say that we are on the right path to be able to see some growth here, but we just cannot start getting closes down below this level. Looking at the MACD, one thing you can see is that the bulls are fighting to hold momentum at their absolute hardest. We can see here that we did lose momentum as bulls for a little while here, but before we could get that bear cross, we did see this reversal and we did start to see momentum pick back up for the bulls as this battle for support does happen. So what I would be paying the closest amount of attention to today is, are we capable of holding or are we not? I would go ahead and say that if by about Tuesday morning we are failing and we have not been able to clear back above $107 to set the new higher high and break through this key level of macro resistance, then realistically we need to start getting prepared for what happens if support is lost and we are not capable of making that bull move. Well, in my opinion, if we are not able to do so, if the price is going to start to break towards the downside here, we need to get prepared to see up to 10 to 20% in losses. Realistically, when we start to see support establishment on this 618 level, if it fails, if we backtest it, go up, fail, and then come back through it, most likely, more often than not, we come all the way back down to the 786 level, which is currently at $89. Now, if we were to see that happen, of course, from where we are now, that is looking like a loss of up to 12%. And so that is something that we need to be extremely wary of as we start to look to see this bounce back above our $107 level. Now, looking at this from an even further zoomed out perspective, we have to also consider the fact that if we were to lose this 786 level, that does put us in a position to revisit the range lows, which at this point, looks like a fall of well into 20 to 22%. Now, I don't think that this is going to happen. I still do think that with the bullishness we are seeing on the charts, especially with our RSI and our MACD, mixed in with the strength of this key level of confluence, I think that it is still very possible for us to get the bounce and continue towards the upside, establish this as a higher low after coming off a higher high and officially setting us into an uptrend. I still think it's possible, but it will be extremely important that it happens, likely by Tuesday morning. We know weekends kind of get a little bit boring. They kind of get a little bit and Monday's usually the day where the moves start to happen. So let's see what happens on Monday. Let's see exactly how this thing goes and plays out. And then from there, if we are capable of breaking $107, I will be doing another accumulation, because at that point, it tells me that there's a strong chance we have set the new low in. We have a double bottom here. One could consider it a W bottom, and the clearing of this level, the clearing of this mid-level resistance on a W bottom usually results in us revisiting at least the previous high, which could be somewhere around $116 at this point. So I would love to accumulate if we do start getting closes back above 107. So I know today's video is pretty similar to the one from the live stream yesterday, but I just wanted to update you guys on what I'm seeing and why Solana is running out of time. It needs to see this move back above 107 relatively soon, because if not, we are in danger of seeing that push to as low as 89, possibly even towards $78. So with that said, of course, going into the weekend, I will continue to update you guys as much as possible. Now that my fight from last weekend is over, I've been back. I've been better than ever and posting as much as I possibly can. And with that, I do plan on upping the content up to 2 videos per day. So do stay tuned for that, as I am intending on starting to really ramp up production to keep you guys as updated as possible. But with that being said, that is going to be about it for today's video, of course, and I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace.